Welcome back. Let's elaborate a little bit on some of the nutrition concepts that we were looking at. So we had some discussion in our course on the forum about the whole idea of saturated fat in the diet, etc. And, this ties in with LDL and some rather long-term studies about the linkages of LDL to heart disease, or some pretty big intervention trials like the Jupiter trial that, among other things, shows that aggressive lowering of LDL led to some relative lessening of cardiac mortality. I think 1 or 2 people out of 100 a year not having a heart attack, and some smaller fraction not dying. So there certainly is evidence for this. But this is, since I worked on this book and probably started writing this chapter in between clinic shifts, well before 2008, and then a literature search in probably late 2007, certainly my thinking has changed. I mean, I still wouldn't tell people to eat trans fatty acids or anything like that, but I would certainly take a second look at dietary saturated fats. And so I think one important thing here is, what about a saturated fat like coconut oil? What does that mean? And I think a certain amount of that in the diet is probably safe. There are enthusiasts that say you can eat, all the coconut and palm and everything you want, and it's not going to hurt you. I think at some point that starts to displace other types of fatty acids, and that might not be such a good idea. But I think the saturated fat that people were eating was from animals that had not eaten their natural diet. It was often along with, a diet very poor in vegetables and fruits, 1 or 2 servings a day versus 5 or 6 or more. And it was concomitant with a lot of toxic vegetable oils, a lot of omega-trans fats. And ironically, some of those were recommended by physicians, like the copious quantities of margarine that people ate to displace animal saturated fats. So they ate PUFAs that had trans fats in them in the source of margarine. So this is an area that's changed. Certainly with the toxin homocysteine getting methylating agents in our diet like B12 and B3 and folic acid in particular is important. Just keeping in mind that some people might need methylfolate form as a supplement. All right, so some of the things we don't mention in here as well are, what about strategies like intermittent fasting? So doing 500 calories a day, twice a week. And it's quite likely that those things could, propel people into benefits similar to real dietary fat restriction. And that's something to take a serious look at. I think in class we've discussed just the benefits of eating real food, actual food. Then we get into the whole concept of essential fatty acids. So what are they? These are fatty acids that we cannot make by elongating dietary fats, and they have to be obtained in the diet. Fish oil, fish liver oil, and fish flesh oil are both sources of these. Now, essential fatty acids can come from plants, and I think flaxseed oil is a good example. The oils from walnuts are a good example. when we ingest those fats, we do have to use what's called an elongase enzyme in order to get them to, I believe it's a 22 carbon length. And, docosapentaenoic acid and eicosapentaenoic acid, so DHA and EPA, are important. I mean, these are certainly important for brain health and for the retina, but they also have impacts on inflammation in the body, and it's not surprising that, diets are deficient in these often. And so if you're deficient, you definitely need these, addressed. Even if you're not, increasing their intake a bit, I think, does people a lot of good generally. But a lot of diets just don't have a lot of good omega-3 sources. There's a lot of vegetable oils from processed food, canola oil, soy oil, not really good on the omega-3 component. And the issue, of course, is, well, what about blood thinning? And it's true, these slightly thin the blood, which is good in the sense of preventing a heart attack, but could be bad if the person is taking a medical, like a drug anticoagulant. And, there's different strengths of these anticoagulants. I don't think there's anything wrong with someone on low levels of an anticoagulant getting their needs met for omega-3s. If someone's on a more aggressive anticoagulant drug, like the drug Plavix, and then they start supplementing with all kinds of omega-3s with fish oil, they may find that they bruise really easily, and things like that, signs that their blood, it's now not really clotting much at all. Various antioxidants are good, and I really think food is an important source for that. So vitamin C is always a good idea, especially because of, its impact on collagen. It's a great recharger of the body's own antioxidants, and it does absorb free radicals. Foods like garlic and onions are important. They can lower cholesterol a bit, and, we're kind of focusing on angina here as a topic. CoQ10, which is really valuable for heart failure, is a possibility. And, there's like a starting dose here. So this would be like for somebody whose heart is still pretty healthy, who's just looking to stay that way. Frankly, a lot of people with angina already have some degree of heart disease. And so getting into 300 to 360 milligrams a day of CoQ10 is more like it. There's a botanical mentioned here, hawthorn, which is helpful. I do want to stress magnesium a little bit. And where are you, magnesium? Come this way. There we go. So magnesium seems to improve exercise tolerance. It seems in people whose arteries around their heart seize up, it seems to help them relax and open up and deliver blood flow to the body. Now, you can give magnesium intravenously a few times at first if you're a physician. Some of my naturopathic colleagues do this. I've done it in the past, but obviously you need that from the diet. You can also supplement, and in a supplemental form, 200 to 300 milligrams TID would be a good amount. You don't really want to have someone take more than 200 to 300 milligrams a day because it'll cause stomach cramping and loose stools if you take it all at once. So breaking it up into 200 milligrams in the morning and 200 in the afternoon and 200 in the evening would be tolerable for most people. And there's foods like leafy greens that contain magnesium. All right. So in China, the thing I wanted to say too about magnesium is quite a few people are borderline magnesium deficient, and that's kind of a scary thing. And it's been shown that cardiac arrhythmias and angina are worse when people don't have enough magnesium in their body. So it makes sense to either really address it hard with diet or to do something to supplement. And, that could be great for someone who's getting chest pains and things like that. Obviously, they carry around the medicines they might need to get out of an ischemic episode, but maybe with improvement to nutrition, they will have far fewer of these incidents.